they will look for some guy who is like angry, red, and almost crying, absolutely unstable, and they're like, "Ah, I want to practice my future motherhood skills on that guy." A go-getter, like pick-uppers. All the pick-uppers, they're like, be confident, show them you can be strong and take care of her. So, and this is the aim of the guy, not to get a girl for life, but to get her for a short time, to dash her with all this illusion. And then she kind of sees through that, and then she's like, no, and he's gone. Bad guys are really necessary as training material for women.
Hello, everyone browsing YouTube. Welcome to Useful Philosophy Discussions. We have an illustrious guest today, Kara Nodrik. Today, Kara brought an important question for those who have ever felt pain in the pursuit of their other half. It is the quest for love. So today we have a super relevant question, especially for young boys and girls. A thoughtful question to kickstart an auspicious and socially meaningful discussion filled with practical wisdom and straightforward life advice. Kara, please ask the question you brought today.
Okay. What makes a woman choose a man for partnership?
Okay, so it's a really important life question, life path question. It makes me think about perhaps women would like to find a man that isn't so needy in a sense, that is stable, emotionally stable, in control in some sense. And it asking this question is a really important way to figure out for people that are wondering why they, despite them trying to find someone else, their other half, they are still alone. So what are your thoughts, initial thoughts about this question, Karen?
Well, I'm thinking it differs if you want to have a life partner for a family or you want to have a creative life partner, because those can be two different things. Not everyone is capable to have kind of all the things that you need in your life. Or another thing is finding kind of short-term 2-3 months adventure partner, let's say. Those are all kind of current relationships that I observe outside of my own life. And let's start with the one life partner for starting a family with children. So a woman would, I agree, would look for emotionally stable partner, because life is unpredictable. And you do need a strong shoulder that supports you. And because you cannot always be the one who supports everybody. That's what current woman is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
She's like has all those things she has to do. She has to earn money, she has to keep the house, handle the kids, and still support her husband emotionally. that's unfortunate.
Yeah, we mustn't kid ourselves. A woman in a long relationship where kids are involved and long-term goals are involved as well, building an estate or a home. It involves a lot of responsibilities for both, but I feel that biology wasn't too kind with women. because women bear the how shall I say, the greatest challenges in terms of the emotional challenges biology throws at women, even before considering any childs whatsoever, due to their cycles. And when they decide to have children as well, it's a huge energy investment. It's a situation where a woman really wants to have selected a man that will care for her no matter what. And in the most challenging parts of a long-term relationship and having children, the man will provide the stability needed, the support, since the man, fortunately, is endowed biologically with a little more regular stability in terms of the emotional hormonal part. A man showing and demonstrating tranquility and stability in the face of life's adversities and ever-changing life. Yeah, I really think it makes sense to be something, a woman that is thoughtfully considering a life partner to choose.
Yes. Yeah. Also, what are the signs of stability and tranquility that man can display so the woman believes him? Like, should this man, like, how should he act in order to demonstrate it? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question, because these are things that can be viewed right in the first meeting, in the first date. It might be what produces the cliche phrase "love at first sight." If a man is he shows signs of irritability, of kind of he's easily stressed. If he shows signs that he's easily stressed and he's kind of fidgeting around or something like that in the first date, it might give kind of bad vibes or a bad impression, even if some subconsciously, to a girl or a woman. She might interpret his non-verbal language, and it's something that, of course, it's very likely that women observe maybe more attentively even than men, the non-verbal communication, his tone of voice, the fact that he might be or not having these nervous tics or fidgeting, um, the way he expresses or not confidence in what he says, whether or not he is strongly invested in something. If a man doesn't like anything particularly, he immediately seems a little less interesting. If at least a woman asks him, okay, do you have any passions, anything you like to do, any hobbies, whatever, anything you like to do outside of study or work, and he kind of tries to evade the question or something like that, maybe he's just addicted to video games and plays games all day, and it's not maybe not so interesting for a female, a woman, uh, to have the prospect that this man she's starting to meet or starting to date uh, doesn't engage in some interesting activity during his day that she can also join in.
like conversation?
Yeah, the way someone is builds rapport with the other person, so both people are kind of like playing a game of throwing a ball from one side to the other. So I say something, the other person says something, etc. And there is more or less a balanced conversation that really, that I think would give a good impression for a female a woman or a girl to select or think she's finding someone interesting.
Okay. I have a shorter summary of that, Roger. It's the way you see emotional stability in a man. Like he can have nervous tics. It's not a problem. Emotional stability is the ability to recover quickly. Because one thing is this stoicism where you don't give up on anything. You just like, this will not touch me, I'm a man, like, and essentially the person is bottling up all the emotions inside until it explodes. The other thing, way different, is to have weaknesses, to be sure of them, to know them, and like, okay, listen girl, here are my weaknesses, but I'm capable of handling them. That's my strength, recognizing and handling them. This gives a lot of potential. Then second thing for the long-term partner as well, for me, is constant growth and the ability to learn new things, kind of the way to change with the situation.
Yeah, some people call that resilience, others anti-fragility. I really like the term.
Adaptiveness, like
Yeah, adaptability or versatility.
Mhm.
It's like the Stoics even use the metaphor of a sheet of steel. It is rigid, it's hard, but it still has flexibility. But I really like the term anti-fragility because life might be easier at times, it might get harder, and well, we might relax a little bit when life is easier. And then when life gets tough and hard, we need to change with the times as well. That's why I really like the term anti-fragility, because we become as tough as the situation calls for. Um, yeah, I really liked how you exposed one of the important aspects, which is if a person kind of pretends they are perfect, the other person will, of course, doubt it, and they won't take the other person seriously. It's really a no-brainer. So yes, if a person is, for example, has a short temper and tries really hard to hide it, it will only damage a potentially good relationship in the long term. They might as well be open with it. Okay, I'm stubborn, or I get angry easily at some particular things, but I do my best to deal with it. If a person demonstrates these kinds of self-awareness,
Yeah,
this is also,
self-awareness, a good word.
yeah, self-awareness is kind of like a green flag for the other
Mhm.
person, even if it's just for friendship or
Yeah, no,
a
but like
very
for any relationship, you know.
yeah, for any relationship, if the people are self-aware, it helps so much. It kind of like it's kind of like it's a service we do to others to be self-aware in a sense, even much more so if we invest in a long-term and serious relationship where long-term projects, kids, house, whatever, come into play. Much more important for us to know which are our inner shadows or inner demons. Everyone has them. We mustn't kid ourselves, and be able to have a short leash with on them and keep them in check. So this
Mhm.
is, yeah, I really like that you uh, put that out there as well.
So
Okay.
there are more things to unpack, like academically. So we identified different types of relationships, seeking a relationship for short term, long term, or long term creative relationship, which is different as well. It has completely different set of subjects. Like, for example, you don't need to have somebody emotionally stable. You don't. But what you do need is somebody who is able to follow up on a dream. People for like there are differences between those three, and those are mine. Those are my observations. Those are my personal discoveries. I'm writing about it now. We are discussing at the moment the relationship for partnership and choosing. Like, I think we can dive into differences later. Dream. Besides emotional stability, achieving a dream. If a man comes to a woman and he like presenting himself as this emotionally stable person, or even sincere person, listen, I'm self-aware. Like, instead of emotional stability, we can just say self-awareness. That's it. We can exchange it. So that's self-awareness. I'm self-aware. I'm able to follow up on my dreams. Here are the goals I put in life. I achieved them. That's really attractive to a woman. Even if this goal was something like, I wanted to go and visit Sri Lanka and walk on foot 50 miles. It's kind of useless for future, but the ability to go for it, to achieve it, is attractive. So she knows, so he is capable to set a goal and live up to it. So what do you think about this achieving the dreams?
Yeah, I agree that it's a fundamental attribute for, especially for this long-term relationship prospects. Yeah, it really makes a person differ from someone who says a lot of things and just is not at all in tune with their actions and their words. This is something that, of course, makes people much less interesting when they all talk and no action. Whereas if they really set themselves for some task, for some achievement, or some goal, or some dream, as you say, there are parallels with this in myth that has lasted for thousands of years. Would Hercules be so interesting if he hadn't did the 12 works? Probably not. He would just be a strong guy that had nothing, no accomplished goals. So when a girl and a guy meet each other and she's wondering how interesting he is, and he starts telling stories about his adventures, when she asks about what he about this, and that, when by adventures I mean things that are really interesting, not the less the other kind of connotation for adventures, now that I use that word. But his exploits, what did he manage to do with his life? What did he manage to do with his skills? Did he manage to explore the other countries of Europe and have a good experience? Did he have a good time? Does he have interesting stories to tell about his travels or whatever? So, of course, this speaks a lot about how interesting a person is as well. And yeah, I agree with you. If someone says they have dreams and they go from birth to grave without accomplishing them, did they really have those dreams? Maybe not.
Yeah, there is a difference between dreams and goals, right? And that what makes makes the person kind of work for it somehow.
Yeah. Also, since we mentioned the shorter term goal or shorter term relationships,
Relationship
that
does
they,
matter at all.
yeah,
The dreams thing, like
yeah,
for short term.
well, they might be interesting because in an early age,
Mm-hmm.
people go through several phases naturally in their lives. So when they are in the teens and the early adulthood, it's natural for people to want to experiment with relationships. They don't want to commit very hardly. It's perfectly natural. It really happens. And but still, people when they choose someone to date and to have a closer relationship with, they of course they don't want to choose someone that has some problems, some emotional problems. They still want people that will be confident about themselves, and they won't can't be too needy. They won't go, how should I say it, they won't force things too much, in a sense. They will be very natural, very chill about the relationship, not force anything. uh, in contrast, if the person, the man, for example, that the girl is considering dating, who she is just meeting, if he is a really needy guy that hasn't yet developed some self-awareness about his needs, he might project too much of his needs onto her, which will burden her. And this is, I have a theory about this, which is, I think that girls in these earlier times, when they are in shorter relationships, and guys as well, there's this cliche that the girls will usually choose the bad guys, in a sense, the bad guys. And I I'm tempted to explain this because the bad guys, they aren't so needy in terms of emotional needs. They are kind of more independent, and so the short-term relationship for the other person, it might be a little more relaxed, uh, and contrast this with the opposite. If the other person is a very needy person, which tends to be those guys that are considered nice guys, um, it will be very different. So they are two different situations. But a guy doesn't need to be a bad guy and be constantly bullying or whatever. He could be an ethical person, but still not project his needs onto someone else. He could have self-awareness, as we've mentioned. So what do you think about this idea? Bad guys, nice guys.
Okay. Again, it all comes to the difference between relationships, long-term relationship or short-term relationship. Let's disregard again the creative relationship. So for short-term relationships, bad guys are just more interesting because they don't need to possess those qualities. I will achieve my goals. I will be successful. I will provide for you. I will take care of you, and I will support you. He doesn't need to possess any of that actually. So he should be entertaining. He can be emotionally unstable. Again, girls for a short-term relationship will possibly like it precisely because they have this inner need for nurturing a brat. So somebody who's like, meh. So they will be like, oh my God, let me show you my motherly support or something. They aren't even aware of this. So they will look for some guy who is like angry, red, and almost crying, absolutely unstable. And they're like, ah, I want to practice my future motherhood skills on that guy. They will not pick him as a long-term partner. Again, they will nurture him for the time being, and then they will be like see through him in a sense. Like they will notice that this guy neither a child, which he should not be, by the way. Like men should not be children, women also should not be children. She will recognize all those qualities that she doesn't want in a future partner. So bad guys are really necessary as training material for women.
Yeah,
Like
it's true, but true, it's hilarious and true. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
so and also bad guy, I like how you touched on really good idea of faking things. So a guy will for a short-term relationship, he will present himself as capable of a long-term relationship to kind of invite a woman in. So he will possess all those qualities that are interesting to a woman, like a go-getter, like pick-uppers. On all the pick-uppers, they're like, be confident, show them you can be strong and take care of her. So, and this is the aim of the guy, not to get a girl for life, but to get her for a short time, to dash her with all this illusion. And then she kind of sees through that, and then she's like, no, and he's gone, basically. And if she's worthy, if she's an excellent woman, that guy will suffer. That's the thing. Because he will, let's say, a guy who possesses the short-term pick-upper skills, he will use it on multiple women, let's say 20 women. Chances are one of those 20 women is actually awesome. And she sees through him, and it turns out that he can't live up to her expectation or to whatever charades he played, like this, I don't know, carnival he showed her.
Yeah, peacocking. People use this expression. Yeah,
Exactly. And again, this sincerity and self-awareness is extremely important. But again, please don't use it, guys, to fake things. For
yeah, for sure. It won't get people far. And I think it's generalizable for everything. If people aren't true with each other, if they project a fake image, whatever situation it is, from friendship to a romantic relationship, short term, especially long term, where stakes are much higher, it's always a huge payoff to be truthful, to be uh, truest as possible with the situations. But of course, you touched on a point with the short-term relationships that I hadn't considered, but it really makes sense, which is at this stage, women really like to have a partner that is unpredictable, that surprises them
yeah,
in ways that are pleasant. Even if they give her an emotional
ghosting.
roller coaster
Exactly,
with
that's awesome. They're
lows and
training her.
highs. Yeah,
Yeah.
lows and highs and whatever. Yeah, I think if it's genuine, if it's really natural for the guy, and both have a wonderful time, it's well, it's great. It's like art in form of a romance basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's much more virtuous, this kind of situation, than the situation of pickup artists who didn't do the work of self-improving themselves to make them genuinely more interesting. They just learned a bunch of manipulative techniques
Yeah.
that fool other people. This is really what it is. They try to advertise themselves as something much more than they really are, in a sense behaving like they were kind of like empty eggshells, and then when the relationship goes in a little bit, it won't progress any further, because the other person will realize there's nothing, there's no wholesomeness in it. But you also wanted to go through with the creative relationship, which I'm really curious about, because I hadn't considered the creative relationship.
Yeah.
What do you consider a creative relationship?
So there was this band called Poison and Wine. Was it a band? I have to check it. Or they wrote a song Poison and Wine. But anyway, so it was a married woman with a husband privately, and then she had a creative partner who was kind of her stage partner, and together they kind of toured, they spent a lot of time, and like the on-stage chemistry was amazing. But they did not have a relationship outside of the stage. And they both could have produced music with each other. They would like, it is a form of love. It is actual love. But she could not write this song with her husband. Like for some reason, her husband was good at other areas. And this guy for her was somebody who could make her sing, or like his presence, everything. I think it was a song called Poison and Wine, and unfortunately I don't remember the name of the band.
It reminds me of the concept of platonic love.
It's platonic love. It can be lasting, ongoing till the end of their lives as well. So what do you need for creative relationship? So creative relationship, a platonic love thing, it's like a constant state of romance that two of them have. It's important to be clear about it, so there is no one side that is hurt. Like in case of the other band, a woman was kind of satisfied with her life, but the guy wasn't. He wanted more, so the partnership broke, which is very sad.
Yeah.
What attributes do you need for a creative partnership? And by creative, it could be also business things. For a musician, for a painter, if like two people paint together, it's this common mutual understanding of what we are trying to achieve. So again, looking for that dream and achieving for that dream together. So the ability to achieve dreams and help each other out to do that. Self-awareness, I'm not sure about the self-awareness. People can be emotional, really have anger issues. It's fine. Like for a creative partnership, they don't have kids together, so it's not that dangerous, let's say. And sometimes even those anger issues, those roller coasters, they actually help the creative partnership. They're kind of required, let's say, in order to keep that state of romance ongoing. But yeah, achieving dreams, I would say, the most important together, and that mutual desire to do that, like mutual agreement to do that. So this is a creative partnership for me.
Yeah, I really like this concept, but it seems to me that there can be a perfectly pure creative relationship, as so many couples that aren't having a romantic relationship, that are professional dancers, that they dance really well. It's mesmerizing to see them, to see two professional dancers that have danced with each other for many years, dancing something like tango or other elaborate dances with complex choreographies. yeah, it's really mesmerizing. It's really interesting to see that kind of partnership happening. Though I think that in rare cases there can be romantic relationships or long-term romantic relationships that also have a creative component. I think
Yeah.
there are quite a few examples in history. Um, there was, I think it,
Einstein and his wife.
yeah, Einstein and his wife, yeah.
Absolutely amazing, creative, long-term relationship and romance, everything together in one person. And that's, I love it. They also had children together, I think.
Yeah, and although the relationship between, for example, Stephen Hawking and his wife didn't work out to the end of his life, while they were together, they were also really supportive of each other. It was a great partnership. And yeah, of course, this is possible. Though I think it's really important to highlight the when love happens at the level of the true selves of the souls, as the ancient people were talking about. And we talk about in our current day about platonic love in passing without going into it. What does it mean? uh, it really means that people have a level of understanding, a deep level of understanding in some or one or more forms of communication. It could be in mathematics, as in the example you've given. It can be in a more artistic field like dance or painting or music. Uh, but there's this really deep understanding, this really deep communication. The ancient Hindus had a word for this deep communication. They called it tantra. It is not only applicable to sex, as in the expression tantric sex. It's broadly applicable. It's applicable to dialogue, to conversations, and to understanding in some sense, in an equal sense. There's also the word conjugal, and it also has a very special meaning. It means jugal comes from the device that unites two oxen, and they both have to pull in the same direction. Otherwise, the thing won't work. And so there's the origin for the word conjugal. And so if a couple is together on the long term, whether for raising kids, building a family, or to do something creative in the arts or sciences or whatnot. Another example, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, also a great example of a couple that is together, raises children, and also does something productive or creative. Um, and and so this when there's this soul level love, and two people are together, and because they are both self-aware and they are seeking to do something great with the opportunity they have, both with their lives and the relationship, they will find ways to go together to better places, to rise together in love, as opposed to the expression fall in love.
Okay, I have a slight distinction here that I would like to make. Creative relationships between Einstein and his wife, also Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, that those kind of scientific creations or discoveries, let's say, they are different from creations that require emotional instability. So a woman will pick for a long-term relationship with family and children. She will pick a stable partner. like this self-aware, emotionally stable partner. But if she needs, in order to create beautiful painting, to write a book of a massive romance and all of that, she will need to get a fuel from somewhere. So there will be she will need maybe a lot of friends who will keep telling her stories about all those horrible things that happen to them, and she will be like, I find inspiration in that. She can do that. Or as well, it can be a partnership with somebody who will kind of torture her a lot until she's like, okay, now I will make my masterpiece. It's not for everybody. It's individual cases. It's really like depends on what are you trying to create. And of course, true, for scientific discoveries, you do need a creative partner who will be emotionally stable and who will provide that, let's say, comfort that will grow a field.
Yeah, and perhaps for in the example of Einstein and his wife, Einstein didn't have a very solid mathematical background. That's known in history. While his wife, she was a brilliant mathematician, and so one can wonder, would the guy have developed general and special relativity if it not were if it weren't for his mathematically talented wife? And I even wonder, did she get the credit that she really deserved? For, you know, if she really helped with so much of the mathematical background, and she had a very brilliant mind.
Well, yeah,
There's this tendency in history. Unfortunately, history is very misogynist. At least until recent times, things have in the past century changed a bit. But if you go to couples in the past and both were brilliant, in the exception for Marie Curie, she received 2 Nobel Prizes. She was really, without question, she got the credit she deserved. But for Einstein and his wife, I'm not so sure.
Even in nowadays, you can see partnership where one of the partners keeps talking, let's say, all the time, over and over, and like very active, outgoing, where creative partnership between Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, let's say. One of them is the doer and the one who actually completes everything, and the other one presents it to the public and gets all the credit, let's say. I'm not saying it's the case for Einstein, and perhaps it was easier for his wife to get her work out there if she would have an avatar of Einstein, let's say, with his help. And for a scientist, actually, it's not the recognition, it's the discovery itself that is important.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it was a mutually beneficial partnership. But that misogynistic thing, I did notice that men tend to talk more and louder and not to listen to women a lot. I did notice. It's really hard for me to find a guy who can actually hear you, and instead of waiting for his turn to present himself to the world. That one needs to be worked on and shown to the world that it is possible. But so far, most YouTubers are men. And I actually went onto a live stream with like 9 guys talking. Jesus, I could not get a word in. And the moment I was trying slowly to present my argument, I got like by 5 people screaming at me, I'm wrong, before they heard the argument till the end. Like they already, woman talking, we already know exactly what she's trying to say. I was like, okay, well, then yeah, so that's my experience. It is better now, but I do believe men are more direct and loud in their way of pushing through the conversation. Like in order for me to talk, I have to possess male qualities, like to the point where I will wear a hat and like look like a guy. And I think if I would smoke a cigar, I would get way more attention, like right away. It's like,
like Coco Chanel.
yeah.
Yeah, Coco Chanel, actually, she was a really interesting example in history. She started wearing men's clothes, started smoking, started adopting a lot of habits only men did at the time. She got a lot of recognition, a lot of people taking her seriously, which is it's sad, and at the same time it's ironical because she played her times really well, and she also developed partnership with people, with a British guy and a French guy at certain points where they complemented her artistic talents and aesthetic sensibilities by providing funding, by providing networking and whatnot. And so these things complement each other very well.
Coco is an excellent example.
Okay, so another example, much more recent and much more famous and in the people's imagination as well, was the partnership between Elon Musk and his brother. His brother's name isn't coming to me. He's the guy that is always wearing the cowboy hat. So his brother was much more outgoing, much more vocal, much more the PR guy of the relationship, of this brotherly relationship. And while Elon Musk is clearly the coder, the programmer, the technical guy that worked long hours making the software work when they were working their butts off in the beginning of the internet age, and so it really worked. You touched a really important point when we're talking about creative relationships, and the goal, the creative field is an artistic expression field, and the muse, as it were, is emotional instability, to be used as sort of as a raw material for the artistic creation. That kind of seems to enter into conflict with what would be the other long-term relationship, which has the goal of valuing stability for the building of an estate and raising children. And there's a couple in history where this conflict is quite clear. Lev Tolstoy and Sophia Tolstoya. They both worked for the production and the editing of Tolstoy's signed books. Sophia, of course, she wrote marvelously, and she edited his manuscripts, which were, as reports say, terrible at beginning. She fixed them up, and I think he wouldn't be considered a literary genius, not as close, if it weren't for her marvelous editing skills and editing work. And also she was kind of like the funding provider for the publishing enterprise between them both. And also Tolstoy also provided a lot of emotional instability to the relationship. It might have produced the manuscripts and the literary works, but on the long term, it really degraded their health as a couple, as a relationship. There are reports that says that Sophia tried to kill herself a couple of times as well. There's a story that she tried to walk outside into the snow during a blizzard to die of cold, just like a character in one of the books. So she kind of was inspired by that, and so it was a roller coaster of a relationship, no doubt. So please chime in. You probably know more about this story than perhaps myself. I only learned about this by the writing of Robert Greene in one of his books.
I mean, yes, that's why I say it should be a distinction. If you want to be a good partner, a good parent to your children, you have to show them example of what good parent is. And definitely going with emotionally unstable genius Leo Tolstoy was not the best choice. But I mean, there should have been a way for them to keep their kind of love roller coaster thing, creative partnership ongoing, with her at that time also having a rock of a man, solid, absolutely reliable. And it's not that easy though to have both in one person, to have unstable, absolutely crazy muse in a stable husband. Really difficult. So yeah, Sophia didn't have choice, let's say. um, it would be frowned upon if she would have a creative partnership with him while being married to somebody else. But now people are more self-aware. We do not have to adhere to normal structures. And I know I might raise a lot of hate because of that. I am a conservative, but I am aware of what is needed as well in order to move forward artistic endeavors. And why do you need roller coaster though for art? And the truth is, because it's more relatable to other people. Art born out of pure emotion is just more relatable. And emotion is a good motivator for art. I think
Yeah,
world would be very boring without it.
yeah. When people are creating art, as someone like Aristotle said in Poetics, people when they are creating art are imitating something. And even if the art is completely abstract, like the one behind me, still it reflects a bit of the emotional state of the artist when painting it, no doubt. And so it's a glimpse into the cosmos of human nature, perhaps the universe of the forms that Plato liked so much to talk about. Um, and and so, of course, if people are like a musical instrument where all the notes are being played, both the grief, the sorrow, the also the joy, tranquility, peace, peaceful of minds, etc. If all these this extremely long and broad canvas of emotions are being played, of course it helps artistic expression. Artistic expression is a kind of a window into human nature, into the human soul, as we could say it. And I to go back to your point about the importance of the family. Yes, of course, a family is super important. It is the unit of society. It is the bedrock, the foundation of functioning society. Even if the relationship is just a couple and their pets for a while and they have no idea of raising children, it's okay. It's still a family. Even for couples that are of the same sex, it's the same family. If there is love and truthfulness, and it really works, if the relationship really produces what it's aimed at producing, where it is creative endeavors or raising children, biological of the couple, or adopted, um, or helping other families raising theirs, because sometimes it takes a village, or it literally takes a village to raise kids. And so, of course, stable families are super important for society to be sustainable, for us to create complete human beings, which during most of human history we have failed miserably at doing. We have created at most people that work many hours in a very hard work for most of the population, but that is ending now because most of the hard work is automated or mechanized. But still, we need to produce people that are self-aware emotionally, that have a sharp intellect, but will refuse to use that sharp intellect to cut life, basically. They won't use it for ill. And also, they are capable of realizing what their mission or goal in life is and pursue it with strong determination. As you mentioned, we've mentioned before, this thing about dreams. When people really embrace their dreams and do everything they can to make them accomplished, that is really heroic, or literally heroic in general, for whatever time we're talking about, even for present day. We have heroes in present day, people that accomplish dreams that are worth pursuing. Okay, I'll stop talking now. Would you like to comment on kind of like a general overview of these relationship things about girls choosing boys and whatnot?
Okay, so we identified these three choices a girl has to make, which is like short-term relationship, which is important for training, for seeing what are the options, let's say. Then long-term relationship where you actually kind of harmed enough by unstable guys to go and appreciate a man who is stable. And then creative one, which you need as well for supporting those other people in their unstable emotional states. I am all for appreciating long-term relationships, being it creative, friendship, or partnership. Everything short-term seems to me like a waste. In a sense, it's on the surface.
Yeah,
So I would like to, in the future, dive into ways of understanding the other person beyond the outside shell or like outside character that the person presents. And it usually takes more than 1,000 hours talking to a person, listening to a person. It's really, really interesting.
yeah, I agree. Long-term investment, it pays off in ways that we can't even imagine. There are so many surprises in the way. I've experienced this with doing something every single day, doing a habit of self-improvement every single day. So if it were in a creative relationship, I couldn't even imagine. If it was hard to imagine just by myself, building this 1% improvement every single day, in a creative relationship even more so. So it's probably uh, um, a box full of surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this prospect of the creative relationship. I wasn't even before starting this discussion. I wasn't even considering that option. But yeah, it really makes a lot of sense. It has historical precedents. There are examples that happens, in the past, and yes, it can produce very interesting results. It can even contribute something completely new for human society.
Again, I like those three, they are important to me. This is my absolutely subjective interpretation of the relationship, and everybody is different. I hope it's applicable to other people or in a general sense. It's only my opinion.
Yeah, but still, it's thank you for your perspective. It's it was really enriching. There's a lot of practical wisdom from life experience that you've shared here. So thank you really very much, Karen, and I hope we meet again in the future.
Sure,
And
just like come back into line by lines.
of course, everyone follow Kara Nodrik's YouTube. She has many interesting videos, interpreting songs, lyrics, videos about several artistic mediums. You'll find a lot of interesting videos to check out in Kara's channel, and subscribe to both of our channels.
Art born out of pure emotion is just more relatable. And emotion is a good motivator for art.